All right, I think we are live. Hey,
All
Dan,
right. How are
how
you?
are you? I'm
I'm doing
good. We're
pretty
missing.
darn good. I love this kind of weather. Kind of like middling, mid 70s, not the beating sun. We had a little bit of rain, so I'm enjoying. It's not quite fall yet, but you can certainly feel it's coming.
September's a good weather month. September is always good weather month. Although we're missing our buddy Adam today. Adam, we miss you. We know he's, I think, on the road. He said.
Yes,
Although I think
he's
I might need to jeer him at the end because if he can live stream from Ukraine, come on.
can't live stream from the Northway for us.
I know. Come on. What's a little podcasting and driving? No big deal.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a crazy week this week.
For you especially, you were telling me you gave me just
Yeah.
a little hint, a little teaser of your night last night, and I think the viewers here are going to be pretty interested in what you witnessed.
Well, I don't know if they are going to be interested or if they will think I'm just like a complete glutton for punishment because when it's not a city council week, apparently I am just committed to watching long meetings, municipal meetings. And last night was the school board meeting. That was it was over 3 hours last night. And I listened to every last minute and it was really kind of outrageous in a lot of ways. And then I actually ended up going back and listening to the other meetings that happened this summer. There were 2 meetings over the summer talking about the similar kind of controversy. And I just had no idea this was going on. And basically what it comes down to is that Commissioner Jim Montanino has been pushing for hiring extra SROs who are school resource officers who are active duty law enforcement to be in our elementary schools because right now we have SROs in our middle school, we have SROs in the high school, but we have no safety officers or police officers who are in our elementary schools. So he proposed this, I think, back in maybe July, and brought it to the school board, and it just has kicked off a really emotional debate, and also has really put on display the dysfunction of our current school board, which is just like after last night, I was like enraged watching, like enraged.
And fill that in. Why, for those viewers, kind of like me, that I other than what you told me earlier, I don't know much about
Yeah.
this. Why are they dysfunctional, and what got you enraged?
So mostly, I think just in general, if you have any like body, whether it's a city council, whether it's a school board, and you have members of the public coming in, taking their time on a Tuesday night to come in, sign up, wait, sit down, and do their 3-minute public comment, you really have to listen and take it in and make them feel heard. And in this instance, it's people talking about guns and school safety and their children and their children's safety. So it's a really emotionally charged subject, whether people are in favor of having SROs in elementary schools or not. And I think 25 people spoke last night, and they were all just very impassioned, and I really felt for everyone speaking. And afterwards, the school board went on to have their meeting, and then they have an opportunity to kind of discuss what's going to come on the next agenda and anything that's happened at that meeting. And the level of like, they basically, this group on the school board, we just had an election back in May. The same people were reelected. So it's been the same group of people working together in the school board for quite some time now. And they know each other's positions, and they know exactly who's for SROs, and they know exactly who's against SROs. And they're so entrenched in their positions that they can hardly have like basic communication with each other or get anything done or vote on a motion or, I mean, God forbid, agree on like a actual decision or take a step to, further the SRO issue or not. It was just kind of appalling, they were just, they can't speak. They like need a mediator. They need to go to couples counseling this group.
Can I ask you, is the current discussion about Jim Montanino's proposal to put city police officers, SROs, in the elementary schools, is that the focus? And the 25 people last night spoke about that, or the bulk of them spoke about that issue on one side or the other, or is that correct?
Yes. So this has been actually an issue that has come up in recent years in Saratoga. Back in 2017, 2018, The high school had always had armed school safety officers who worked for the school. They weren't active duty law enforcement, although most of them were retired law enforcement, and they carried weapons. And that was something the school board had to vote on, because it's contrary to the gun laws that we have in New York State, on campuses and in schools. And in 2017, I'm 99% sure it was 2017, they voted to disarm the school safety officers. And that created a real uproar in the community, and brought up this issue of school safety and active shooters. And it really divided the community and created a very emotional and really hostile school board campaign season, where, it was like, at the end of the day, it was like, if you care about kids and you want them to stay alive, you vote for these people. If you don't care about kids and you don't care if they die, you vote for these people. Like, it was bad. It was bad. So we've kind of been through this once before. And in that time, the city council voted to approve more funding for the SROs. So if they wanted to hire more, the city would kick in more money to offset that and make it financially viable for the school to do. But the school board never responded to the resolution that the city council passed. And it was just it was an ugly situation all around. And so this is kind of like deja vu all over again. It's people coming out, and it's really the same exact issues that came up in 2017, whether it was for or against. People feel really strongly, especially with the prevalence of school shootings, that our elementary schools should have a school resource officer assigned to them. Because right now there is zero security in our elementary schools. Were there to be an intruder, or any kind of issue where someone was entering the school and wanted to cause harm to the kids. And they actually talked about some of the training the teachers had over the summer, where they were instructed to essentially, like, how they would fight back. Like they are the ones who need to fight back and, like, throw books and, hide in this specific corner, and, like, just really kind of intense training for a teacher who should be focused on teaching, not having to worry about what they would do to protect themselves and the kids in their classroom if there was a safety, if there was a threat in their school. I mean, they do stop the bleed trainings with the teachers. They just go over a level of detail for responding to emergencies that's really stressful. I mean, like, I don't, if I was a teacher, like, I would be very anxious about kind of having that weight on me of knowing that, like, I would have to be like the fighter and fight back and put tourniquets on. And I mean, that's not really what they signed up for. And it's
True, but that is the reality these days, right? SROs or not, they may be in that position. They do need that training, though, right? Would you agree to that?
I would agree to that, although I don't think it's fair to go as far as, like, this is how you need to fight back. Because if you have someone in your school who's a trained law enforcement professional in the school, chances are they're going to be able to get to where the problem is very quickly, as opposed to calling 911 and having 5 or 6 minutes elapse, which we know can cause, incredible amount of harm and fatality. So I think just on a mental health level for the teachers, it gives them some security and comfort to know that there's someone there checking to make sure no one's left the door open, checking to make sure, there's no one wandering or something looks awry. Just basic safety precautions that, Dan, you could probably speak to way more than I could. I think that gives the teachers and parents a level of comfort. But on the flip side, there are a lot of people who feel that guns, and putting a police officer with a gun in a school can be very damaging for some of the kids. That we should not be promoting more guns, that there's no evidence that having someone who is armed in a school prevents a school shooting. And certainly Uvalde is, a horrific example of just a complete collapse in law enforcement. Yeah, but absolutely. For me, I think the problem for me was that the school shooting is the kind of 1 in a million thing that happens. You pray to God it never happens in your community, and most likely it will not happen. What I worry about are, like, custodial situations where, there's a bad divorce and a dad shows up at school at pickup and decides to, like, snatch a kid and take off with them. Or, you've got a pedophile who's downtown and walking around and staring at all the kids on the playground. Like, I worry about kind of these more day-to-day issues, not things that would require like shootouts, you know?
Right.
Um,
Can I stop you for a second and
yeah,
ask you
yeah,
just to
absolutely.
sort of set the table for the viewers and myself, because I just don't know much about this school board. Start off with last night. If you could ballpark of the 25 or so people that spoke, could you guesstimate how many were pro SRO, how many were maybe against an armed SRO, and then can you talk about the school board itself? How many are on it?
Sure.
Where do they fall? What numbers do they have on the sides of these issues?
Sure. I would say about 2/3 of the people there spoke in favor of SROs, and a third spoke against SROs. And then there was one comment that had nothing to do with SROs. It had to do with like a tardy policy. So 24 out of 25 people are there to talk about the SROs, but it was I would guesstimate about a 1/3 to 2/3 split. And then the school board makeup, there are 8 people on the school board, 8 or 9. Gosh, I should know this. I think it's 9, although there might have been 8 last night.
Okay. 9 would
My
make
niece,
sense to
yeah, 9
avoid
makes more sense.
ties.
So there's no tie. Yeah.
Mm.
And they're kind of, it's pretty evident who's on what issue. Dean Colligan, Amanda Ellithorpe, Connie Wyatowicz, who am I missing?
There's a
Why
gentleman
am I?
that's
Well, yes, but there's another woman who Erica Boardman. All are really more in favor of the SROs and are more vocal, much more vocal about making this happen with the SROs and just the issues of school safety in general. And then on the flip side, you've got Tony Crackler, John Brueggerman, John Ellis,
Natalia.
Natalia Latakia, thank you, and Angie Amica, who are on the flip side. And again, they've been working together in the school board for some time now. So it's clear to me that they have just like any communication or functional relationship in that board is just completely crumbled. And it's almost like when one person is talking, the people on the other side are not listening. They're just coming up with ways to, disprove what that person is saying. They just are, no one's willing to move from their position at all or think about a compromise. And it got to the point where they were arguing over like tiny little granular issues having to do with Robert's Rules of Order and how to phrase a motion. And it really got to a level of absurdity that I've not seen at a meeting where people, they've been doing this for a while. You would have thought that this was their first meeting or their second meeting, the way they were going back and forth on how to get when to put a motion up, what it should, how it should be phrased, the level of detail in it. And again, just in contrast to the public comments, it seems so demoralizing to me because one way or the other, it seemed like this is a group that is not going to be able to make a decision or come to a consensus on anything.
All right. If I can interrupt you again, are these? I know you can view these archives, but are these live streamed?
I was watching it on YouTube, so yes. So if you go to YouTube and you go to the Saratoga Springs City School District's YouTube account, you can see all the school board meetings,
including the live stream as it's happening.
I believe so.
Okay, well, we'll follow up on that for our viewers and find out. At least by next week, but if not sooner, we'll find a way to get the information.
I think I was a little bit delayed, so I think I was maybe watching it like an hour after the fact.
Okay.
But there were references to the meeting they had in August and the meeting they had in July, so I went back and watched those, and they were equally kind of bananas.
You went to bed at 4 a.m.
I get, this is I got that little bit of crazy where I just I find these things really fascinating and important and relevant. And I think that, we need to know what's going on in these conversations because, I've got 4 kids in Lake Avenue and Maple Avenue, and I have observed safety issues and wanted more school safety for some time. So it's a really personal issue. And this is where the decisions happen at the school board level.
Yeah, it's a powerful group. More so than people realize for unpaid positions, by the way.
It is. And They also had the two SROs, one from the high school and one from the middle school, come to a presentation last night about what they do every day and really what the role of a school resource officer is. And hearing them talk was so like heartwarming and compelling, because SROs are not, you're not just assigned to a high school to be our SRO. These are people who are working in law enforcement, who express an interest in working in schools because they have a passion for kids and building relationships with kids and being in an and being in that environment. And that's really what, you know, they're passionate about and what they love to do. And so they have specialized training to get the SRO designation, and they develop incredible relationships with students that last for years and years and years and years. Officer Lloyd.
Be standing there waiting for a shooting. They do many different
Oh
functions
yeah,
proactively and so forth, correct?
I think that was the point, that, you know, they talked about a lot about how so little of their job is being punitive. And so much of it is about building positive relationships with students, so that kids, you know, if they are in a moment where they're in trouble or in a crisis or whatever, they feel like they have someone who they can talk to and they can trust. And also, it's just a good role model and sets a good example, and starts off a healthy relationship with law enforcement that can last a lifetime. um, with the Maple Avenue SRO was talking about how, like, when he walks around in the hallways, he carries a football, like a little Nerf football, because some of the kids he knows that are uncomfortable being around police officers, like, he has a football. Well, he tosses them the football, or they see the football, and they're like, "Oh, you know, just a little toss of the football," and just that little connection starts making them feel a little bit more at ease. I mean, those were the kind of steps, the things he was talking about, you know, that he does on a daily basis. It was so thoughtful. And he was talking about how he went to one of the elementary schools and read in 5 different classrooms. And he brought a book that was all about school resource officers and what they do, and explained it in a way that, you know, elementary age kids would get, and would understand that the police aren't bad guys. They're not there to get them, but that they can be there to help, you know, and that they should go to them if they ever need help. And when you hear the SROs talking about what they do, and you've just heard, you know, maybe the third of the people who don't want to SROs in our schools, the picture that is painted of law enforcement in this SRO position in schools by people who aren't in favor of them is just so contrary to what, you know, you're seeing from these two guys who work in our high school and middle school.
And on that subject, can I ask you to clarify for the viewers the difference between a police department SRO and a school district SSO? I think is what you told me offline.
Mm. So the school district employs safety officers who, you know, work with the SROs and you know, do a lot of the security and safety at the high school and in the middle school, but they are not active duty law enforcement, and they are not armed, and they are not in uniform.
But they're
Some of
usually
them,
retired police officers, right?
very often, they're retired police officers, but I don't know if there's mandatory training for them. Like, they don't have the requirements that someone who's active duty law enforcement has.
Right.
So I know they, you know, function really well. They make a great team in both the high school and middle school settings, but they are not active duty law enforcement and do not have weapons. On the other hand, the SROs, the school resource officers, one is a police officer with the SSPD, and one is from the sheriff's department. And they're in uniform, they're armed, and they are, you know, following all the training and requirement and policies of their police department as well as the school. And they have a contract signed with the school. The city and the city pays for some of the way they split the cost is, I think the high school pays for about $75,000, and the city, it's like a split, but the high school picks up most of the cost. I've always thought it was a great model for Saratoga, because when we need more officers on the street, it's the summertime. And so when I thought about it, you know, back at the very beginning of this conversation, I was like, well, this makes perfect sense. We could have SROs in our schools during the school year, keeping kids safe, doing all these, you know, positive things. And then in the summertime, when school's not in session, we can have them out bulking up our police force and, you know, responding to the increase in people and crime that we have in the summer. Like, to me, that's like the perfect solution. But anyway, I digress. There's a very vocal group of people who truly feel that this is harmful for the kids to have any kind of law enforcement presence or any kind of presence of a firearm in school. And so it gets very contentious.
So it's going to remain at the status quo. The two SROs you mentioned will remain in their positions. There will be no
Yes.
SROs in the elementary schools. Is that pretty much status quo then?
So there's never been SROs in the elementary schools ever. The Maple Avenue and high school SROs, they're fully budgeted and they will continue to be there. But this conversation about having SROs in the elementary schools, brought up by our own public safety commissioner, I just don't know how we're going to get anywhere with it, one way or the other, on of discourse on the school. I mean, they can't agree that the sky is blue. I think that would be difficult for them. And so it's just kind of like a demoralizing situation all around. I think that we would be well served with in our elementary schools. I know my kids are at Lake, and I had that was like terrifying, where at dismissal, which is kind of used to be a little bit of a shit show, you know, the kids are kind of just running out or kind of monitoring to make sure they, but my daughter, who when she was 8, went off with a friend who invited her over for a play date, and the friend didn't tell us, and my daughter was 8, didn't tell us, so we were, she was nowhere to be found, and we're pulling all the surveillance tapes, tried to track her down, and ended up having to call. Wow. It got to like the missing child level.
Wow. Wow. I would have had a heart attack. They would have just taken me to the hospital. I mean, I would have hopefully been determined to find my daughter, but that the stress you must have dealt with.
Well, so mercifully, I was actually in Albany with Mayor Kelly and Commissioner Madigan, and testify about VLT. And the building we were in, I had no reception. So the fact, thank freaking God, because I don't know how I handled it either. But when I went to school, were sobbing, talking about it, crying. I mean, the ladies at the front, everyone was in tears because it was so scary, you know, like it was like,
yeah,
police, like it was very scary. So
hey,
anyway,
I don't know if it's my connection or yours, but you are in and out audio.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that would be because my Bluetooth. Oh no, there.
Yeah, you're still choppy.
I'm choppy. I'm still. Maybe louder, closer.
No, it's just you go silent. It's just.
I could try a different pair of headphones if you want to wait a hot second. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it could be my end, but I just don't think it is. Especially if you're hearing me completely, then I've got solid internet connection.
I do hear you completely. All right, stand by. I feel like we need a little like musical interlude while I switch these.
I'll talk about my Buffalo Bills, who are doing quite well. And I started a Facebook page for Saratoga Springs Bills backers. So if you listen, it's New York State's only team. Even if you're just a mild fan or barely a football fan, go to that Facebook page. How's that for a fill-in? And join. I'm trying to get 250 group people. We're at about 210 right now before next Monday's game against the Titans. So there's my plug for my Buffalo Bills. Can't hear a thing. Completely silent. Nothing. You want to just do what I'm doing? It's not the best quality, but just pull everything out and just do it on your loudspeaker and your built-in microphone. I can't hear you. Oh.
Okay, how about now?
Better. Yes, can hear you.
A little better?
Yes.
Now I can't really hear you, but okay.
Okay.
In my ear.
Your dream come true. You can't hear me.
I mean, I guess the internet doesn't want us to talk about SROs today.
Yeah, somebody.
I might have to go back to the other headphones and just kind of wing it, Dan.
It's a conspiracy. Hey, so you and I are going to follow up on this issue, and Adam, I think next week we can tell the viewers we're going to have some sort of update. Even if there is no update, that will be the update to tell them that there's been no movement on this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I have no idea what's going on with my audio, but I can hear you.
Okay, so you did have We're gonna have a little bit of an abbreviated show this week, although we're at 25 minutes. Did you want to close this issue out, and we can pick it up next week, as well as City Council's meeting next Tuesday? So we'll be talking about that next Wednesday at noon.
So essentially,
Oh, lost you again.
can you hear me, Dan?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
All right. So essentially what I would encourage everybody to do is go look up the school board meeting from last night on YouTube if you feel like it, and listen to just even a little bit. You'll get a taste of what's going on. And we'll put out when the next school board meeting is coming up, because I think that this is something that people have a lot of opinions on, and I would encourage people to go to the school board and speak their mind. I think it's really important that people be engaged in this conversation.
And these are monthly meetings? Is next one will be in October?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know offhand the date? Is it the second Tuesday of each month?
I don't know off the top of my head,
Okay.
but we can put it. Well, we can drop it in comments. I'll make sure we put it in there.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Did you kind of segueing off that? Did you want to go into some cheers and jeers?
Yeah, let's do some cheers and jeers. What do you always have a good cheer and jeer, Dan? What are your cheers and jeers? I'll do my animation that you love so much. All right, cheer and jeer for me.
Well, wait a minute. I was hoping you would go first, because I know one of your cheers, and I need to feed off your cheer to get to my jeer.
So my cheer is for Jim Montanino for pushing the SRO issue. I am really appreciative that he is doing this. And although I can't totally make sense of his kind of like anti-police, pro-police positions, I don't really care. I really appreciate that he's doing this. And I sent him a message this morning, telling him as much. And, I know that sometimes we harp on people a lot on this podcast, but that doesn't mean that we write that person off. When people do good things or things that I agree with and want them to do, like, we applaud that. So applause goes to Commissioner Montanino. Thank you. That is my cheer. That's my big cheer.
Okay.
My jeer is apparently audio and headphones. Cheers to the internet. Cheers to audio. This was like amateur hour, so apologies.
Okay, good. I'm going to recycle a jeer, but I'm not taking the cheap way out. I'm just fired up once again, because I was in Ballston Spa yesterday, and that's what I saw. A gallon per, that's actually what I paid for, because I went there and gassed up. It was 40 cents less than anything in Saratoga Springs. 40 cents. And I wrote about it on Twitter, and you commented too.
No, I went straight to the fresh cooked breakfast. I was like, breakfast?
I'm not getting a fresh cooked breakfast from there. I'm getting gas from there, and that's it.
Right. No, the gas disparity thing is huge. It's bizarre. It is totally bizarre. Yeah,
and there are some that are saying, that's just the way it is, and I don't accept that. Something is afoot there, and I don't like it. I'm bothered by it, folks. It's 3 or 4 miles away. There's an Aldi down there. There's if you want to buy some cheap stuff, there's the Ocean State Job Lots. You can make it a couple different reasons to go to Ballston Spa. One of them being to get a much more reasonably priced gas. I don't understand it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm bothered by the price of gas in Saratoga. And I just mentioned it a month ago, and I'm going to mention it again because I'm bothered by that.
So why don't we put out an appeal to anyone listening? If anyone knows why this is the way it is, contact us, email us, comment, let us know, because we want to get to the bottom of it. There's got to be some explanation.
I think it's just profit. I really do. I think we're being taken advantage of here. We're sort of captive. Every gas station, regardless of the company, at least within the center part of the city, is the exact same price from what I've seen.
So do we need to do like a day where no one fills up their gas to
exactly
send a message?
Stop, people. We've got the power here. So I'll get a second jeer. Robin, my second jeer is to you, because you invited me to your house for a get-together, but it was your birthday, and all I brought you was a $15 bottle of wine. So I went out and I got you an important gift that I know
you did not.
Like. It is a framed picture of Jim Montanino. I'm gonna drop it off at your house.
That's what's been missing from my wall.
Exactly.
I'll find a space on the wall. Oh my God, you cracked me up, Dan.
If I'm on my game, I'll have him autograph it for you, and I'll drop it off.
Crack me up. And you're so funny. I actually hate my birthday because I just find it to be a rude reminder that I'm aging. But it was in the summer, everybody scatters, and so it was so nice to have some people over at the house, and just see everybody. And
it was great. And you got to meet my wife, and
it was so lovely to meet your wife and your girl.
Kasha, and I met your husband once previously, but I got to talk to him a little bit more. I quizzed him on cutting the cable and getting Hulu or over. So we really had a good discussion on that. He was helpful to me. And
the podcast
it was a really nice event. The weather held.
Together.
And the kids played, and my kids loved your swing set and running around the house. My girls were amazed that they could run around the house. That was kind of neat for them. So
this is it was a wild. We had a very energetic pack of kids, a lot of grown-ups, lots of food, lots of booze. It was very fun. It was really fun. I loved having everybody over, and it was such a pleasure to meet your family. We've got to do it again.
I got to see, I think 3 or 4 of your kids. I don't know if I met all 4 of them, but I met at least 2 or 3 of them. And you fed my kids, by the way. You fed my kids. Thank you. With their needy dietary desires. Hey, you want to wind this down, and we're gonna be back next week at noon on Wednesday.
Yes, noon Wednesday next week. And we've got some exciting interviews coming up over the next couple of weeks with politics and some just really interesting segments I'm excited about. So thank you, Dan, for doing this with me today. We'll talk more about this SRO issue and keep updating viewers. And yeah, over and out, my friend.
In honor of Adam, who couldn't make it this week, stay classy, Saratoga. We will see you in a week.
Wait, I think it's stay charming.
At one time, I thought it was stay classy, but you might be right. Stay charming and stay charming and classy.
Perfect. There we go. That was so Adam. All right, friend. I'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.